Hi, Hannah here from Fortitude Training. I feel like I've been gone for ages and I've really missed connecting with you all. Had a couple of weeks off. My little girl got poorly, full of flu, and then she managed to pass it on to me, and I got it twice, lucky me. So that's where I've been, but I really have missed connecting with you all. I love the interactions that I have with all of you on the various social media platforms. So today's video is to recognise International Rare Diseases Day. Most of you probably don't know that I am somebody who lives with a rare disease, and it's actually a disability. So I have, technically it's two conditions. It's I live with aplastic anemia, which is a form of bone marrow failure, and I also have, and I'm going to look down the screen because I have to read it because it's really hard to say, so I just call it PNH when I go to the clinic, but it's called paroxysmal nocturnal hemoglobinuria, so you can see why we just use the abbreviation PNH clinic when I go to the hospital. Basically they are conditions to do with my blood, where my immune system kind of sees new blood cells as like a disease or an infection or something, and so it kills them off. So your body's always producing new blood cells to replace the old ones because they have a lifespan and they die, but my body sees them as like an infection and decides to kill off the new blood cells. So at its worst I had like 2 pints less blood in my body than I should have done, and that made life very, very difficult for me when this all first started. So I first got sick in December 2015 and didn't know what it was, just suddenly was covered in all these unexplained bruises, and at the time my father-in-law was in hospital dying of cancer, so my health and problem just kind of went on the back burner, and I was Mrs. like Mummy B, focusing on everybody else, taking care of everybody else, taking care of him and the rest of the family, and sorting out arrangements and everything when he passed. And then eventually my husband kept going on at me saying, you need to go to the doctors, you need to find out what these bruises are, and went to the doctor. He didn't really know what it was, just told me to come back and get a blood test, which I did. So I had the blood test I think on the afternoon, and then I got a call at 12:30 at night from the hospital saying you need to come down to the hospital right now. There's a problem with your blood test results and you need to get to A&E right now. This was obviously middle of the night, so we had to take our daughter to a family member to be looked after, and we raced down to the hospital. If I didn't have enough blood before, then I certainly didn't have much left by the time they'd finished running all these tests on me. So they run various tests, couldn't really figure out what was going on, and this sort of went on for quite a few weeks, that they were really baffled as to what was going on. So in the end I had to have a bone marrow aspiration, I think they call it, where they actually go in and take your bone marrow to try and establish what it was. And to be honest, I was really ignorant about blood diseases. I thought the only blood disease I kind of knew about was like leukemia, and I don't know, maybe that's kind of quite common to a lot of people. I think they don't really get much exposure, but there's literally hundreds of different blood diseases, but leukemia was the only one I was familiar with. So that was the biggest fear for me, thinking, gosh, is this what I've got? And have I got cancer? Am I going to die? And then eventually in early 2016 then I got diagnosed with aplastic anemia and PNH, that I'm going to try and say again, and it rocked my life. It really it makes me upset just to even think about it. It took my life away. I couldn't do so many of the things that I just took for granted, just everyday things, like obviously if you haven't got enough blood going around your system, your body isn't able to then pump the oxygen around effectively because you've not got enough blood cells carrying that oxygen around. So even just something as simple as breathing, extremely difficult. Being able to walk from a car park to my office where I worked, I'd probably look like an 80-year-old woman by the time I got there because I'd be so exhausted. But outwardly you wouldn't have known there was anything, you know, aside from the bruises and obviously the time of year it was, you know, mostly covered up anyway, so people really didn't know what was going on, partly because it's a rare disease and partly because it's a hidden disability. So my condition really did massively impact my life, and even now, years on, where things are a hell of a lot better than they were, I'm still impacted by the effects of what happened, and side effects of treatment and what have you, but that's partly why I do what I do, and I try to raise awareness within organisations of hidden disabilities. So I've got this here, this is my hidden disability lanyard, the sunflower lanyard, which some of you may or may not be familiar with, but I'll pop a link in the post as to where you can get hold of these if you do, whether you're suffering from a hidden disability yourself, or whether you're an organisation and you're interested in getting hold of some lanyards for customers or employees that may be living with a hidden disability. But it just helps to signify to other people that I might need some assistance. I might find things a little bit more challenging than somebody that's not living with my condition, because obviously, because of the nature of it, it's not apparent outwardly. But that's really, you know, it's something really close to my heart, and why I'm trying to do what I can to raise the profile and the awareness of aplastic anemia and PNH in particular, but hidden disabilities, because there are so many people that are living with conditions that they often don't even realise are classified as a disability under the Equality Act, and oftentimes because of their lack of knowledge, or you know, or even where they do realise but they don't quite realise what their employers are, the steps that their employers are required to take. Sometimes it leads to people's lives being made worse, as mine was, where your rights are breached and reasonable adjustments aren't being made. So I just wanted to share a little video, you know, that it probably came as a surprise to a lot of you, because, as I say, it's not something you can outwardly see, but just remember that disability doesn't just look like this. Not everybody that has a disability has something that's outwardly visible. We tend to focus on mobility as being a qualifying factor for somebody having a disability, but actually somebody that looks like me can have a disability that's fully covered and protected under the Equality Act. So just try and stay open-minded and be aware that there might be people that are struggling with things that literally won't be apparent to you just looking at them outwardly. So I wish all of you a great day, a great weekend, and I hope that you will like this post and comment on it and share it with your connections too, and hopefully we can do what we can to help raise awareness of rare diseases that people are living with across the globe. Take care, have a lovely weekend, bye.